Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this. Market alert. 12.3 million XRP, valued at approximately $26.9 million, has been transferred to an unknown wallet. This movement may signal a wallet rebalance or OTC accumulation over the counter, both of which could suggest strategic positioning ahead of market developments. We see all this XRP on the move, but as it's moving, there's no big price change. And that's why a lot of people are thinking that institutions are buying up all this XRP over the counter. No matter how you look at this, this is eventually going to reflect in the price of XRP. And just a reminder, these are all the ETFs we are waiting on to go live. And when they go live, I'm expecting a massive institutional wave of liquidity to flow into XRP. I'm telling you right now, these XRP ETFs are going to make the Bitcoin ETFs look like they were nothing. It's going to easily 4x those Bitcoin ETFs, in my opinion. The institutional demand for XRP is off the charts. Breaking. New SEC document reveals huge potential for XRP. A U.S. Treasury proposal outlines how XRP could unlock $1.5 trillion in capital, cut billions in fees, and help build a Bitcoin reserve system. Big news for crypto's future. Now, I got to tell you this. This is something that was created by someone in the community, and they sent it to the SEC. This is not an official SEC document. And you see it right here. XRP is a strategic financial asset for the United States by Maximilian Staudinger. And I agree with some of this, but to use the money to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve makes zero sense to me. And even here, potential Bitcoin purchase at $60,000 per Bitcoin, accumulating 25 million Bitcoin. There's not 25 million Bitcoin to begin with. So the document, I see where they're going with this. They're excited about what's going on with XRP. They see how the government can utilize XRP. I'm telling you right now, the reason that the president is not talking about XRP is because once they're using it strategically to strengthen the US dollar, that's when he'll talk about it. Until then, you will hear no mention of XRP with the U.S. government. The new quantum financial system, ISO 222 financial data, ISO TC 68 financial services, ISO TC 307 blockchain and DLT. So we know ISO is just an upgrade to the messaging system. But TC 307 is the global playbook for blockchain and DLT tech. It sets standards for security, interoperability, and smart contracts, making sure blockchains play nice across industries. It's the rulebook for a decentralized world, powering trust in crypto, supply chains, and beyond. Like I said, you're not too late to these ISO cryptocurrencies yet, but time is absolutely running out. And the reason I wanted to point out TC 307 is because Gilbert Verdian, the CEO of Quant, created ISO 307. QNT is going to connect to every one of these ISO cryptocurrencies. It's going to connect to XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, Algo, IOTA, ADA, and we are going to see those connections happen in real time. because we are going in to the new financial system. I still think ISO is going to be the beginning of the flip of the switch moment. This comes from Smoke. ISO 222 will enable new payment rails on the SWIFT network like Ripple, and it's documented. This is how you get the option of either utilizing SWIFT or utilizing RippleNet technology. And Ripple can also upgrade the SWIFT system. You know, right now, there's 11,000 unhappy customers utilizing SWIFT. People think that these are happy customers. Why would they switch from using SWIFT? Well, because when they send money, right now, it takes 3 to 5 days, and it costs astronomical fees. When you could do the same thing in a matter of seconds for less than a penny, people are definitely going to switch when it comes to sending money. That's why I said ISO could be the flip of the switch. This comes from Black Swan Capitalist. Own the rails and you control the system. Everything else is just data passing through. That's the difference between being a player and owning the game. We don't own the rails. The rails are Ripple rails. We own the train that's going to run on those rails, XRP. You know, once XRP goes live in all of these countries, it's going to happen very quick. And people are not going to be expecting it to happen. In other words, they're still going to be sitting there telling you ISO isn't a big deal. They're going to be telling you no bank is ever going to utilize Ripple or XRP. And then all of a sudden, the switch is going to begin. And when it happens, there's going to be a lot of people left with a lot of regret because they could have seen it coming, but they refused to see it happening. Bitcoin maxis are going to have a lot of regret in the future because the future for Bitcoin is to be a tokenized asset running across the XRP ledger. And that is coming. And anybody that doesn't see it yet is going to regret not seeing it very soon. Rick Edelman urges financial advisors to allocate 10 to 40% of portfolios to crypto, saying it's now a mainstream long-term investment. Take a listen.
Today, I'm saying 40%. That's astonishing, right? Yeah. Nobody ever anywhere has said such a thing as what I'm saying now. Why the shift? It's because of the massive change in the evolution of crypto that we've enjoyed in the past 4 years. 4 years ago, we didn't know if governments were going to ban Bitcoin. We didn't know if the technology would become obsolete. We didn't know if consumers might not want to adopt it. We didn't know if there would be any institutional engagement. Today, all those questions are resolved. In the Trump administration, in the new Congress, there is massive support for crypto. Every member of the president's cabinet personally owns Bitcoin. Every major economic appointee of the president, the secretaries of Treasury, Commerce, Department of Labor, the heads of the SEC, CFTC, OCC, FDIC, all of them huge supporters of crypto. There's no longer a question as to whether the government likes this or not and is going to support the development. We also now see institutional investors engaging in ways never seen before. Banks are now permitted for the very first time, along with brokerage firms, to trade and custody crypto, which they could never do before. Stablecoins are now Goldman calls it the killer app of crypto. We now have a huge array going in, and in fact, the first legislation out of Congress is crypto legislation, the Genius Act. So it has radically changed. It is now a mainstream asset. And we look at the adoption rate, it's still incredibly low. It's only about 5% of the global population that own crypto at this stage. As more and more get involved, learn about it, discover it, and invest in it, we're going to see massive asset inflows. And because, and certainly in the case of Bitcoin, it's a fixed supply asset, the more people who buy it, the higher the price is going to rise.
Now, he was pushing Bitcoin, but wait until the president shifts away from Bitcoin. You got to remember, the president is not stupid. He met with Ripple back in 2017, 18, and 19, and 2020. He met with them again in the summer of 2024. even before he was elected president of the United States. And that was when he also shifted from a CBDC to a stable coin. And that's when he came out and made the announcement that the United States is not going to have a central bank digital currency, because they're going to utilize something like RLUSD as the digital dollar. But you still need a bridge for that digital dollar. And that's where XRP comes in. I'm telling you, when this shift happens, people are going to be like, why was I holding the wrong asset this entire time? XRP was created to fix all of the problems with Bitcoin. XRP was created to be a better Bitcoin. And take notice, he said, we only see the adoption rate at 5% right now, but that's going to change over the next year. Take a listen to David Schwartz here. This is the best David Schwartz clip because it gives you a time frame on when it's going to happen.
I feel like we really are on the cusp of a mass institutional adoption, both of DeFi and of other blockchain technologies. I think this is also like one of the key obstacles to mass retail adoption. A lot of people in the space previously thought that retail adoption was like the big wave, but I think institutional adoption is a precursor. You have to connect to where people are. You have to go to where the value is. You can't build a new financial system from zero, ignoring the existing financial system where everybody's money is, where all the value is, where the real world is, trillions of dollars in value. You can't just say, oh, forget about all that. Let's just build something new over here. That doesn't work. And so I think this wave of institutional adoption over the next year or two is going to be what's going to pave the way for mass retail adoption. And then we can deliver on those promises. Like, we all want to bank the unbanked, but the unbanked, they have to be able to spend their money to buy groceries and pay their phone bill. And so we have to have that institutional connectivity. And I don't think there are any obstacles. I think that's and I think this conference shows that.
And the clip is so important because he talks about leveling the playing field, banking the unbanked. He thinks that's going to happen through institutions. He also said that they're connecting to the traditional system. You can't fight the system. The system isn't going away. The banks are going to still be here in the future. And that was one of the other problems that I see with Bitcoin. They're always putting Bitcoin against the banks. Bitcoin's going to replace the banks. It's going to replace the US dollar. And that's never going to happen. The reason Ripple is succeeding is because they want to fix the system. They want to work with the system, and they want to make the system still stay in the hands of all of these governments, because the government is never going to give up control. And Ripple knew that early on. That's why XRP was built to work within the system. And it works as a trust layer. Any country can keep their sovereignty, keep their own stablecoin, central bank digital currency. It doesn't matter. And they can move it around the world through something like XRP. And like I said, so many people are excited right now, and we see these posts coming out. Top developer explains XRP path to $20,000. It went from $10,000 and now we're at $20,000. If this excitement continues, soon we'll be at $50,000. But Chad Steingraber, the one thing I like about him is he looks at supply and demand, not market cap, because I don't think market cap matters to XRP. Utility matters, but he's talking about them locking up large amounts of XRP, and we already see the early signs of that. Companies are now creating XRP treasuries as well. Soon, governments will be doing the same thing. Wait until they're locking away 1 billion XRP in between this handful of companies, or they're locking away 10 billion XRP in between these banks. That's going to happen. And the reason it's going to happen is because it was documented. The BIS showed liquidity pools early on. But people always said, well, that's never going to happen. That's 10 years down the road. But now it's happening in real time. Everything that you ever had vision for XRP is playing out right now in real time. And that's why these price predictions, any one of them can come true at some point, because there's going to be so much demand for this cryptocurrency, and scarcity is going to happen. Years ago, when people laughed about 100 billion XRP, they're starting to realize 100 billion may not even be enough. But until it does happen, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.